Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by my good friend and co-host, Down Under. This is Double O Blanchard again. He's back, Geoff Blanchard. Hey, Geoff, how are you?
Good, thank you. Very well. There's been a lot of different things going on this week, hasn't there? So
There
fun
have
things.
there have odd things, but and we have our new pet Tinkles. He's
Tinkle, is it?
we got the idea from Peter Gregg. He has a little dog, but this one
That
is
I
Tinkles.
know. That's Gina Shriek's dog. That is.
That might be, yeah. That's right. She had one that tinkled. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, let's run our intro. Oh, stop it. Okay. He likes the music. All right. Here we are. Where's your dog? Is he sleeping back there?
He's fast asleep there. Yes,
Fast
yes.
asleep. It's a rough. Why do they say it's a dog's life? Dogs have a great life. They sleep. They go to the bathroom. They eat. That's about it. I mean, just not much else. They're happy.
As
They
long
put
as
up
they
with
get
us.
good owners, that's the trouble.
They even like humans. I mean, they're really messed up. But I mean. Anyway, hey, well, yesterday you probably saw what we did. We asked Peter Gregg to come on. Since he won't come on the show nicely, we had to ask him in a more aggressive manner. We did the Peter Gregg, No Peter Gregg for You song. And so that was actually quite good.
Yes.
No response yet.
As I was saying, if I was Peter and considering whether I come on or not, that would definitely make my mind up. But those people are definitely too unstable for me to go on to their
Yeah,
show.
by the way, I was also very rude. Harold's in the show today. Where is Harold?
Oh, here
There's
I am.
Harold. Harold Mugliotti is joining us today. He's our producer on the show, and he is joining us today for this banter that we do.
Indeed, I am.
So again, we tried to get Peter Gregg on. We'll see if he actually responds. I think he may be having some sort of coronary incident after seeing that. So we'll see how he's doing. And in other news, our friends who've been on the show twice already, Chris and Jordan from the Camera Store, they are no longer with the Camera Store TV. No, or the Camera Store for that matter. They've moved on to the big time. They're now with DP Review, which is a division of Amazon, which I didn't know. I'm not even sure why they bought DP Review, but there must be something secret they're doing, some military operation, who knows. But so now Chris and Jordan are going to be the main voices, I guess, of DP Review, and it's going to be similar to what they're doing anyway, but they have a whole testing group behind them to actually talk about the shots they take and the cameras and everything else. Should be fun. And so we want to wish them very good luck, very much success to what you guys are doing. You guys have done a hard job for 8-9 years, and now you've got budget. So we wish you the best. Did you know that one, Geoff?
I did. I saw that because I've caught up on Peter Gregg's video when they first moved. That was the one that I caught up on it, and I was really quite happy for them because I know with them working at the Camera Store, they did all those videos, and I think they still had to. That wasn't their main day-to-day job. They put a lot of their heart and soul into a lot of those videos in their own time, I think. So, can you imagine now being having a job where that is your job, and not having to? Because they would have definitely had to work in the shop and do that and do the videos in their sort of off times in retail.
And they work really late, more often at weekends, you name it. Though it sounded like when they said goodbye on their own channel that their wives are still at the store. So I was going, the wives are at the store? Maybe I heard it wrong, but it sounded like this is a whole family operation maybe. So even though they weren't, quote, the owners, maybe the owners are related to them. Not sure, but that was interesting. But
even then, for them to get something like that, to having doing just a channel on review things, to be able to get a job out of it, but it's just that everybody respects their reviews and that, and always looks forward to them, and they put them together, I think, relatively quickly.
Yeah.
But they're very professionally. Like some people can just throw things together, and they're quite rubbish, but they do it quite in depth, but not that in depth that people just get fed up with just too many technical things.
Right.
And now with DP Review, as they were saying, They can do the main videos, but they've got a bit more arsenal for things when they want to ask questions themselves.
Right.
Because like, whether you know you're good or not with cameras, there's always some things that you're not too sure of. But that's where they've got the extra things to analyze. You know, what's it, the dynamic range. I never understand that. Whereas they can say, oh no, this has got that. They can analyze that a bit better.
Right.
I always get a bit confused with that. To me, yeah, there's plenty of colors. Yeah, I can do. I don't care that it goes down to that.
I think
little
one of
gray
the easiest descriptions of dynamic range is how well do you see in the dark parts of your picture, the shadows? How much range, how many stops of range do you get? And you know, most of the cameras are giving you somewhere between 11 and 15 stops of dynamic range, 15 being really good, 13 about normal. And so you could see much better with the low light, much better in the shadows. In fact, when we went to Hawaii and did that review with the G9, when we got to the Pali Point, it was very dark in parts, and it was raining, and it was shadowy. And the camera had pretty good dynamic range because it picked up a lot of the shadows on the hill and the mountains. I was surprised at how well it actually did. So, you know, dynamic range makes your pictures just a little bit better.
Well, yeah, and I guess for what you were doing there, especially, it was good because having more dynamic range means that you don't have to choose between, say, having a bright sky be blown out or being able to see the details in the terrain kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of patterned like our eyes see. When our eyes look into the sun, we're either squinting or we're okay, and that's just how our light is interpreted by the retina and by the optic nerve. And so again, I think the idea of dynamic range comes from that. You know, as we're younger, we can see better in sunlight, like direct sunlight. You know, what's direct sunlight? They don't even care. As you get older, it's like, oh, I'm blind. So it's a little bit different. So that's another way to look at dynamic range. How well do you see with either very harsh light on you or not a lot of light? It's that all comes into it.
It's a bit like where they have the low light as well. That can show, yes, it does vary in low light, but it's also the quality of the picture. Yes, you can get the low light, but it might be very noisy. It always takes me back to my audio days in retail, and everybody used to measure, you know, the watts of the speakers, and that's louder than this one. And I always used to say to people, I said, you know, a siren on a fire engine is extremely loud, but is it pleasant to listen to? No. And it's not always that it's louder, like the cameras. Yes, it can go down to nearly darkness, but is it usable footage? No, a lot of the time. So,
you know, there's a Monty Python sketch
like
there
now,
with the all right, I'd like to listen to that speaker. Well, it's like a siren. Oh, can we play it? Oh, that quite hurt. Yes, good. Now, this one's better. One plays the siren a lot better. Let's listen to the just show
and one of the speakers is just a facade with men screaming behind
That's
it.
right.
But it's the same thing with the cameras now. Just the 24 megapixel seems to be the ideal one. You can get bigger and bigger and bigger, but as I said, unless you're wanting to zoom into the left-hand corner, a little bit of it, it doesn't make that much difference into the overall thing, or unless you're doing it for a huge billboard quality and that. But there's just that nice pointer, and I think we're getting to that stage with a lot of the cameras where they're concentrating on other things other than these technical specs, because I think we've got to that stage like computers. You've got the speed, but it's a graphics processor rather than the speed of the chip in them.
Think about cameras this way. Look at the state of our industry right now. Some cameras are very hot. They can't seem to work without overheating. Other cameras can't seem to focus. They need glasses. Other cameras are too small. Some are too big. Some are too heavy. Some are fat. Some are skinny. We have a very diverse group of cameras. Very few of them actually do it all right. There's always something kind of messed up with them. And if you can only put them all together in a blender, just make one big great camera out of it, it'd be great. Because I think you mentioned it last time, camera hunters. You're always looking for the better camera because nobody's there.
You know, it's and going back to the thing we were talking about.
I don't hear you on my headset, but
oh, you don't?
Oh, maybe I do.
going back to the thing we were talking about dynamic range, then, it just reminds me of the way that our eyes work. It's almost as if we're, our eyes achieve a high dynamic range almost by having two sensors, because we have the two kinds of, we have rods and cones.
So his mouth and nose.
Well, that too. Some people see with their nose far better than their eyes.
Oh, so let me smell that picture.
Yeah. Nah. It's overexposed.
Definitely.
Well, Rick, you were telling me about that study that was having people see with their arm nerves, right?
There's been some studies done with the way we perceive, our senses perceive, and the signals. Our bodies are basically electrical, and when you get signals into your optic nerve or your ears or your mouth, they're all the same signal. It's not different what comes into your ears, nose, or mouth. It's still, I guess, call it ones and zeros, like in computers. And so they've done tests where they could put a sensor on your forearm, and the people are seeing through their forearm, or they could put a sensor on the tip of the tongue, and they can see through their tongue or hear through their tongue, depending on the frequency of the sensor. And it's fascinating, which means we're nothing more than just an electronic or a biochemical, bioelectric translation mechanism. We translate all those sensory inputs into sound, into light or seeing, vision, or taste or smell, whatever. It's really rather fascinating. And so one day, I think they've done research on Robert Geordi and Star Trek. I think they've done research that can be done. And they're doing some sort of stuff like that already in probably some high-tech labs. So it's going to be interesting when they can figure that out all the way.
Remember back in, years ago, Vincent Price.
Yes.
He used to plug himself in. Remember Dr. Forbes?
Yes.
Plug it into the 3.5-inch jack into his neck and plug yourself into the big Wurlitzer organ or something.
He was good. I liked Vincent Price. He was funny.
Going back to, did you hear, we had just the news about the camera store, Chris and Jordan.
Yeah.
Did you hear that Flickr had been bought by SmugMug?
No.
Oh.
That's SmugMug. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I thought so, because Flickr was one of the biggest ones, wasn't it, out there?
Yeah, so Yahoo dumped them.
Yeah, it's still a big one for photographers.
So Yahoo dumps Flickr and SmugMug buys them. That's really fascinating.
SmugMug. I keep saying SmugMug.
You just want a hug. Come on, Edmund. You want a hug.
SmugMug.
Wait, I'm a little confused here. Who bought who?
SmugMug bought Flickr.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I saw that, and I thought, well, didn't hear much else about it. And it definitely wasn't April 1st, so it wasn't one of these things that just goes round. So it'd be quite interesting, because I thought that was sort of a dying out sort of platform. But
so the new name is SmugMug?
No, I don't know what they'll do, but I haven't heard anything. Maybe they'll just keep it the same, but I don't know. But you would think they would all amalgamate it into
SmugFlug. I don't know.
Will they keep it Flickr, or will they get rid of Flickr and do it into SmugMug instead of
Flug. I don't know. That'll be interesting. I'm not quite sure what they would want them, but I guess it does consolidate all of the world's pictures into one place, and maybe.
Well, I mean, SmugMug is a bit more of a commercial service, right? And then Flickr is kind of more casual or portfolio kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh, it's a bit like, I just don't know how a lot of these companies survive. Like, I don't know about we have Uber all around the world, and they've had something ridiculous like a $9 billion loss or something, haven't they?
Yeah. Uber?
Uber. How do they do that?
They're not doing that well anymore.
But hey, the breaking the trends, because I think Uber in Australia actually made a $6 million profit or something. And I thought, said that's nothing. That's like spitting the ocean when you've got a $9 billion loss.
Well, they're the only ones who will actually pick up a kangaroo.
That's right.
So
yes,
nobody else will.
Skippy, we want to skip over to here. Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never taken Uber or Lyft, and a friend of mine got on a Lyft car. he was actually somebody who worked at a pest control company we know, and he was in the Hollywood area, and he's in a cab with a friend, and he's talking to the driver, and he asked the driver, "Where are you from?" And the guy said, "I'm from Pakistan." And then he said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And the guy turned around and slashed him across the face, 75 stitches later, and he ran out of the car, gone.
Obviously an illegal immigrant.
Obviously, and probably a terrorist at that point. And they never found the guy as far as we know. And you know, now he's got a scar across his whole face, 75. And, you know, nice government, how we vet these people. Yeah, that's really good. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff we hear, but we actually know somebody it happened to.
But the thing is with the things like Uber and that, they get into the market, and the traditional taxi companies are quite mad about it. But I think one of the things people like with Uber is the technology, and that's what we all love about it, that you can jump onto an app and just say where a cab is, and it'll come and get you. Why don't the traditional cabs have something like that, have an app where you can just say, I want to go there, and you can see where your cab is. They can accept your fare, because there's so many of them out there that won't touch you, or you don't know where they are. Hey, hailing a cab, if you can just do on your phone.
Maybe they just don't want to cooperate with each other. I don't know.
But I don't know why, you know, the traditional ones don't see the light on the wall. So, well, people are going to these ones, even though it's dangerous whichever way. I think you could get a crazy person no matter where you go. It's all, but as I said,
they've had a lot of incidents. They've had rapes, they've had assaults, they've had all sorts of problems with Uber and Lyft drivers. You know, it's obviously they're not being vetted, and at least with the cab company, you have more of a chance that they're somewhat vetted. But I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I'm not crazy about it. The only reason people take it is it's cheaper. I don't think any other reason other than
if they did it with the technology and made it made normal cabs, as I said, with that, and that's the main thing. I wouldn't mind trying to do that if he had it. It's just going on the app and having a standard taxi. Like I said, I'd prefer a standard taxi, because you know these people.
Right.
That's their job. No matter what you think, if you just get an Uber and that, it's just, hey, me who's just decided I'm going to pick somebody up and that. You don't know what I'm like, how I drive.
That's true.
Even if I am a good person and not violent, I could be an idiot of a driver.
That's true.
You just never know. I think I'm good, but maybe I'm not. But you know, taking these people, you know, at least you would think proper taxi drivers have some sort of training. Sometimes I say not, but I think so.
So today, Geoff, let's see, as of today, this week we sold.
I was just going to ask you
four cameras, and we sold some audio gear, and we've got still 4 more small cameras to go. 2 small cameras and 2 of the XA25s, the Canons. And eventually I want to upgrade probably some of the studio cameras to either the new XA15s. They're still 1080p, or maybe not. Maybe we'll even get the XF400, because that's a lot cheaper than the 405, and that gives you a really good camera without the handle. We don't need the handle for the studio ones. So we're just looking at what we're going to do. But you know, the XF405 as a studio camera, that's what I'm being filmed on right now. It's probably overkill. It's really built for being a real good shooting camera, but you could use it for studio. It just seems like overkill.
That's right, because you get to a particular one for the studio, it's great, and that's all you need. You don't want super duper great, because it doesn't show any difference on that. But I'll see with you said in the beginning of the week that Wirecast have updated to version 9. So I've updated. So mine's working on version 9 now, but can't see a huge amount of difference for me. But I think on the Pro version like that, got that pan, tilt, and zoom camera capability in there.
Right.
And so one of their things is you make your shots on your pan, tilt, and zoom. I think it's the same with your vMix. So then that controls your camera. So
it seems like this version of Wirecast is more about hardware controllers. Things that they were kind of behind vMix on. And I'm going to update probably this weekend. I have to do a couple of things. I have to upgrade a video card on one of the old machines and put it on that machine. Then we have a secondary, because vMix is still good. I don't mind vMix. It's a good tool. It's just that, not vMix, Wirecast. I like vMix. We've been using vMix now for about 3 years, and it's been great. We used to use Wirecast, but they blew it in version 5 or 4, or whatever it was, and killed our shows. So we were sort of slow to get back into them. And I don't know, they may have fixed it because now they have full support of controllers. So maybe you have more control of what keystrokes you can do, because you didn't have a lot of control before. They got rid of it. And so I'd like to see some more control. And then, I think they're a good product. Telestream does make good tools. And we'll just see. We'll just see what's going on. Have you heard that Apple has moved corporate headquarters to China?
No.
That's the latest one. Now they get zero taxes and communist Chinese watching them. I'm glad they thought nothing of their privacy or anything else. It's sort of odd. Which means all of the Apple IDs and iTunes, it's all now under communist control. I love it.
It doesn't matter wherever it is. It's all, if somebody wants to get it, they've got it.
They will get it, yeah. But I just find it sort of odd. Apple is weird. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go for them. I mean, it's an interesting move, all for taxation purposes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I bit the bullet. I bought myself an Apple Watch, so I've got my Apple Watch there.
You bought an Apple Watch? You didn't, did you?
Yeah, definitely did. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Well, yeah, I do actually like it. And the thing is, I like with all my Apple stuff is, well, it just goes together with it, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's what I like. And just simple little things that you don't realize. You lay your watch down beside your bedside table, and it turns into a clock. It does it itself without thinking about it. So you just even knock the table, it comes on, and it's turned itself into sort of like a bedside clock when you're charging and that. So, but the thing is, as well, is what I'm keen with. Like everybody's got these Fitbits and all that. Like at least that's got all that in it. But I don't like to have all these other bits and pieces. But it's got like traditional watch, and that's what I like. It just seems to work for me. As I said, might do a million and one things like all watches, but it's just like a good watch for me. And what I do like is being able, you get so many of the things, don't want that decline when it's, it's telemarketers phoning you. You can see all that without getting your phone out and doing that. So I do like it. Now it's got the GPS built into it, so you don't.
It didn't have it before?
No, it didn't used to have the GPS in it. Okay. So it only worked off the phone, but it's got the built-in GPS now but you can get one that's got the chip in it, so it will be independent of your phone. But
they have that too? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't need that because it said, yes, you can, but then it will only work for an hour after disconnected from your phone. So I said, well, what's the point?
Only 1 hour? That's not long. Oh, you know why? The internet stuff does take a lot of juice. Yep.
That's right. And it said, but there just wasn't any point. And I thought, and as long as, like any of these watches, as long as they perform as a watch when you haven't got a phone there, that's all I really ask, because I don't want to be dead in the water without a time.
Leslie, my wife was looking at the Movado. They have a smartwatch. It's gorgeous, but it's like $600-700. It's like, ooh, but it's really pretty.
What does that do? Does that do anything fantastic?
I don't know. It's expensive. That's all I know.
Well, I thought the last time I bought a watch was about 6 years ago, so I thought, well, it's about time. But even then, my last watch cost more than this one did, and that was a normal TikTok Tissot watch. So this one's a bit cheaper, but like they have the bands for these watches. The thing is, it's like the bands for the Apple watches is like the memory for the Apple. You don't buy them from Apple because one of there's about $249. Which is half the price of the watch.
Wow.
Which you go to the band store from somewhere else and you get it for $50.
Yeah. Wow. That's a big difference.
And but the Apple wants much better quality. Well, I can't see any difference really. So
I have to ask Carol, did we just have a quake before?
Was that a quake?
It almost felt like it because the part of the room just kind of did a quick creak, and I went,
I heard a lot of creaking. I'm not sure.
We creaked for a couple of seconds, and it was like, I think we had a small quake, or a big truck went by.
That is the terror of California earthquakes. Most of them just make a bit of
I should
creaking.
say, look, I'm having a quake now. Shaking here.
Wow, our quake got to him, or maybe we got your quake.
Right.
No, seriously, we felt what sounded like, because I looked up, I went, is that a quake? I could hear the tiles on the ceiling kind of. It could have been. Well, we don't really have heavy trucks that come in here, so. Could have been a plane, but I didn't hear the plane, so I don't know.
I didn't hear anything.
We had a quake about, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago, we had a 5.2 quake out near the Catalina Islands, but we felt it in the office. The office moved very gently. It was interesting.
I think it's really strange there when you have those, it's what's like a ripple, where the ground just move like a wave.
That's what happened, yeah. A very gentle wave.
Everybody just moves just up and down. It just goes through, and I thought it's so weird that.
It is. It's something you get used to, sort of. I don't know if you ever get really used to it, but and they can be rather alarming when things really start moving. But anyway, well, we are almost out of time. Anything new in the world of your gear that you're looking at? I know you're looking at stuff.
Well, I've got a lot to look at now because I see Dustin's got a review on the A7 III.
Ah, okay.
And, what's his name? Mr. Watson. I forgot his name.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yep.
Yep, he's got a review on that. What's his name?
Don, is it Don? No.
Dan Watson.
Dan Watson. Yep.
Dan Watson.
We have to get him on the show. He was supposed to come on once, but then he couldn't make it, and so I think they were moving or something.
I had to look because I like his reviews too.
He's good.
I do like the way people seem to be doing reviews these days. It's more aimed at people, like actually showing things. Because there's it doesn't matter about the specs, but and what's even getting me, I'm still getting. Still like that GH5 because like Chris and Jordan did their first one on the A7 III, I think it was, but they filmed all that on the GH5, and I thought, gee, the quality was so good.
Oh, that was filmed on the GH5?
All the GH5 on that one, the first one they did, and I thought, gee, that makes it look. It is a damn good camera.
It does shoot really well.
It does. And the other thing good about the GH5, which you don't really think about, it really does shoot into your out of memory or power.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's got the 60 frames a set. It's got I think the only disappointing thing about it is its autofocus. But I mean,
that's kind of a big one, though.
But that's about the main thing on that. But that's what I like about the Sony. The focus is
now, Did you notice Peter Gregg this week was talking? He was filming with the GH5S, and it had better focus than the GH5. Just like the G9 has better focus than the GH5. I don't know why they haven't come up with a new firmware update to fix the GH5. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, that's really strange. If they've got it in one of their other ones, you'd think they would just because everybody's complaining about it. But yeah, so I'm still tough. I'm in 2 minds. I want the Sony, but I want the Panasonic.
Right.
And whichever way I look at it, there's always somebody that's got a negative, and
well,
then the next
I'll tell you, Geoff.
I'll
tell you, we have both, and I don't sleep any better at night that way.
No.
And about the recording limit thing on the cameras, Rick and I were looking into that, and I guess the reason for that 30-minute limit that they have on a lot of the digital cameras is because in the European Union, video cameras are taxed in a different category at a higher rate.
Yeah.
So, and it's defined as a camera that can record for longer than 30 minutes per session. So they just kind of arbitrarily limit it to that.
That was dumb. That was really dumb.
And certain companies, Panasonic, for example, they actually sell a different version to countries outside of the EU that don't have that limit.
Well, it was the same here because I think didn't your FZ 1000, that record unlimited to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas me, it doesn't. It's only 29 minutes.
So it might be a similar thing.
1000 recorded.
Oh, you're stuck with the EU stupidities. That's too bad.
Well, yeah, but the only one was the GH5 that it hasn't. But,
that doesn't. Yeah, that's good. We sold the FZ 2500.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's like one of the quickest cameras we've had. I bought it in December. We already sold it.
You'll regret that now. You still
No,
regret
not really,
spending
because
the
once we
12,000.
had the G9, I didn't need the
no, you've got
I didn't
that.
need it anymore. I was going, I like it, but the quality is still not as good as a G9,
No,
especially on
no.
pictures. You could really video wasn't too bad, but the picture quality, and it's a little bigger than the FZ1000. So I was going, that's kind of big and bulky. It didn't seem any less big than a G9. Actually, it was seemed bigger. The lens was good. It's a good camera. I liked it. It's just that it wound up being like a triplicate of something we didn't need. So we decided to sell that one. I sold the GX8, the LX100, all the smaller ones from about 3-5 years ago. And they're all good cameras. But we have the G9, the two GH5s were good, and we have the Sony. So I don't think we need any more cameras at this point.
I'll tell you what we've got to do one day, Rick. When I come over, we've got to plan a time to come over there, and we'll find out how many cameras you've got. If you've got 15 cameras, make sure we get 15 people, and we'll go to an event and film it. And everybody puts that together. Say, okay, let's do this event. Say, let's all go and do this and film it and see what we can come up with.
See what
with
everything
every
comes
single
up.
camera we've got. You to do what you want. You take video, stills. Don't care if you've got a video camera. Just do what you want. And just the main rule is, hey, you've got to have it on a monopod so it's steady. Don't do all over the place if it's video. And that would be good fun.
That would be interesting. And Canon with the new Canon M50, I think it was 2.5 crop factor. 2.5. Oh. So your screen goes from here to here.
Like a postage stamp.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get it. I really don't get Canon anymore. I'm just going, are they suicidal? Do they have a great sense of humor? Are they Alzheimer's? Do they have Alzheimer's? I don't know. I just don't understand their marketing right now.
Are they planning something fantastic?
And maybe they'll
live with it.
Yeah, and maybe they'll come out. There are a lot of rumors that this year there will be a full frame mirrorless camera from Canon. Now, if they do that, it depends how they do it. They may really mess it up.
Yeah, but the thing is, what the all say, if they do that, yes, it's full frame mirrorless camera. They can get a great camera, but what it's got to do, it's got to be able to fit all the Canon standard lenses, not a different mount. It's got to fit them without an adapter, and then people can just say, "I'll buy a new body."
Yep.
Whereas if even if you've got an adapter,
but I think some of the Canon lenses, but I think some of the Canon some, not all, but some are just too slow for mirrorless. I think because mirrorless focus is very, very, very quick, much quicker than the standard focus. So we'll see. It just depends. Nikon, I think they've left the universe. They don't even bother competing anymore. They're still on DSLRs. No mirrorless to make it worthwhile. They keep promising a mirrorless, but they're so far behind the game, even with 4K, that I think Canon looks progressive next to the Nikons. They're just not moving ahead too far. So it'll be interesting. Oh, yeah, Geoff, next week, Harold's going to be off, and I was thinking you and I do a show on Saturday. You run it.
Okay, yes, we'll do that. Yes, okay, definitely.
That sounds good. We'll coordinate during the
Sunday.
week. That'll be fun.
On the Sunday, the same time in the morning, or?
No, we'll do it whenever you want. We can do it at night, like you said.
Night, yeah. So it's about
my night, your afternoon, late afternoon.
Yep. Yeah,
sounds good. Well, anyway, I guess that's it for today. Harold, anything else?
Nope, I haven't got anything at the time.
All right. So for all of you people watching, all 16 of you, I think maybe it's more than that, or maybe less. Hard to say.
1/16 of them, and once that's what.
That's right. We appreciate you watching, and please subscribe. We're trying to get more subscribers because YouTube demands it. I don't know why they demand it, but they demand it. So we are complying. Thank you, YouTube. And we will see you.
If we don't get more subscribers, they're going to shoot down our spaceship here.
They may, or they'll tax us more. I don't know. So we'll see you next week on Tech Down Over. Next week we'll be on Saturday Pacific time sometime. We'll post it later. Have a good one, everyone. We will see you next week. Thanks, Geoff. Thanks, Harold.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.